Hello everyone, myself Shailesh, and today we will try to learn SQL, that is basically Structured Query Language. So, what is SQL? Why do we use SQL? And where do we use SQL? SQL, as the name suggests, Structured Query Language. Structured refers to a particular definite form. Query is basically an ask, a question that prompts up in our mind. Language is a mean or medium to convey your questions. So SQL is basically a way with which you get answers to your own questions from the database. So SQL is basically a way through which you interact with the database. Mainly a query language with which we can get all the answers to our questions from the database. Now, a database consists of all kinds of data. What is a database, first of all? A database is basically a storage space where you store all the data related to multiple things, multiple entities. As a small example of a data, if I give you, so let us suppose a student. Student can have multiple informations related to it. So suppose in a school there are 100 students. Every student would be having a student ID, that would be the roll number, student name, address, the subjects which they have taken, their passing score, and many more things. So these all things constitute an information about one particular student. And on the whole, if we take all the information about all the students, that consists of data. And how is it stored? That is maintained inside a database. So you store all these informations in a particular ordered way in a database so that in future you are able to analyze things on these. So let us go a little bit in depth and see what is a database. So as I said, database is basically a space on the server where you store all your information. Now, we don't directly dump our informations on a database. We have to have some particular format, a particular order in which you can group your informations or the data and store it in the database. So that ordering, that structure is provided by a table or a view. So a table basically consists of rows and columns. Now, as you can see in here, a student table has been created. A student with an attribute of student ID, student name, student address. We could even add student marks and students' passing marks, score, overall, students, teachers, which class they study, all these informations. But for example, just to make it a little bit concise, I have kept only three columns: student ID, student name, and student address. Now, this student table has three columns and it can have a multiple number of rows. Each row, if you would see, corresponds to one particular student. So Sam has the student ID as 1001, student address, he stays in Delhi. Similar way, Tom has student ID as 1002 and stays in Mumbai. So table just provides a structure where you can store your information, your data. So that is a table. A table resides on a database and a database on a server. So database just holds these structures and the data inside it. And when we query these databases to get our information, that we do with SQL, that is structured query language. So here we got the answer to our second question. Why do we use SQL? We use SQL to get informations related to our questions. And where do we use SQL? We use SQL on databases. Just interact with the database. So a database mainly has multiple database objects. It could be tables, views, procedures, triggers, and many more. When you go in depth, you will get to learn in the following videos. We will come to know about multiple things related to a database. As of now, just remember the database is basically a storage space where you store all your informations. Table is just a structure which holds all your data in a particular format so that it could be queried. And what is SQL? SQL is a query language with which you interact with your database. Now, if we want to interact with our database, what operations can we perform with SQL? There are mainly four types of operations that you can perform with SQL. Those are categorized under four categories. Those are DDL, data definition language, DQL, data query language, DML, data manipulation language, and data control language, that is DCL. So we'll define all these over here, and in the following videos, we'll have a practical session to see all these commands, all these queries, and learn more about it. So as of now, I'll define them. What is DDL? That is data definition language. Data definition language, as the name suggests, it is a definition of the structure of the different objects of databases. Like suppose a create table statement or drop table statement that comes under DDL. Data query language, this is basically a select statement where we want to view the data under a database inside a table. Then we have data manipulation language. Manipulation, as you can get something through it, manipulating the data, changing the data. When we are trying to update or insert the data, that is, those queries comes under DML. Those are the data manipulation languages. Then we have data control language to get the control, like providing access, revoking access from the users. Those and all come under data control language. So guys, we have defined all these things. In our following videos, we will be going in depth of all these four operations and many more things. So please stay tuned, and you may go for the next videos. Okay, thank you.